What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 16 Christmas games.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to give you my top DFS picks for the Christmas games between the Green Bay Packers and the Cleveland Browns and the Arizona Cardinals and the Indianapolis Colts.
And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made.
Okay guys, NFL Week 16, let's take a look at this 2-game slate. Now, you can use these picks for the 2-game Saturday slate, or you can use these picks for the showdown slate between the Green Bay Packers and the Cleveland Browns, or between the Arizona Cardinals and the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, so at the quarterback position, I like Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers playing the Cleveland Browns, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers has averaged 22.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 2.2 rush attempts per game. On the 2-game slate, he's going to be about 39% owned, projected at 21.6 fantasy points here tonight, and he's $7,400 DraftKings salary and $900 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 46 points scored in this game, with the Green Bay Packers favored by 7.5. Aaron Rodgers has scored 24, 33, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games. And in those games, he got 4, 1, and 2 rush attempts. So, middle of the road matchup here. Aaron Rodgers has been on fire. So I like Aaron Rodgers here versus the Cleveland Browns. Okay, another quarterback that I like is Kyler Murray from the Arizona Cardinals playing the Indianapolis Colts, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Kyler Murray has averaged 23.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.4 rush attempts per game. He's going to be about 33% owned, projected at 21.4 fantasy points here tonight, and he's $7,200 DraftKings salary and $1,500 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 48.5 points scored in this game, with the Arizona Cardinals favored by 1. So Kyler Murray has scored 14, 22, and 31 fantasy points in the last 3 games, off of 4, 7, and 10 rush attempts. So I like that rushing floor in this game. And if you're going to ask me to pick between Aaron Rodgers and Kyler Murray, I think I might lean towards Kyler Murray. So I like Kyler Murray here versus the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, now if you're looking for a low salary quarterback on this slate, your choices are between Baker Mayfield and Carson Wentz. Yes, Baker Mayfield has been activated and he will play here tonight. So I like Baker Mayfield from the Cleveland Browns playing the Green Bay Packers, who have a good defense overall. They give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield has averaged 14.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 2.8 rush attempts per game. And I like this pick because he's only going to be about 6% owned, so low ownership here, projected at 15 fantasy points, but he's only $5,300 DraftKings salary, $1,400 more on FanDuel. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 46 points scored in this game, with the Browns trailing by 7.5. So it's a pretty good quarterback matchup here. And Baker Mayfield has scored, let's take a look at his last 5. Oh, that's pretty ugly. He scored 16, 13, 10, and 6 fantasy points in his last 4 games. Didn't play last game, but he'll be playing here tonight. So I just think this is a sleeper pick at the quarterback position if you're looking to make your lineup different here tonight. So I think Baker Mayfield is a pretty decent value play, high risk, high reward, sleeper pick here versus the Green Bay Packers. Tournament play only. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. So of course, the stud on the slate is Jonathan Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts playing the Arizona Cardinals, who have a good defense overall. They've been good versus opposing running backs. Jonathan Taylor has averaged 25.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 19.3 rush attempts per game and 3.1 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 65% owned, projected at 24.3 fantasy points here tonight. He's $8,300 DraftKings salary, and he's $2,200 more on FanDuel. So I much prefer that DraftKings price, and we know Vegas thinks there's going to be 48.5 points scored in this game, with the Colts trailing by 1. Jonathan Taylor has scored 26, 28, and 20 fantasy points in the last 3 games, off of 29, 32, and 16 rush attempts. And he got 5 pass targets in that game. He had 16 rush attempts. So 20 to 30 touches a game for the past 3 games. That's a ton of volume. So I like Jonathan Taylor here versus the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, everyone, it's time to announce the winner of our $100 PayPal giveaway. And the winner is Don Shapilier. Don Shapilier, congratulations. You are the winner of this week's $100 Christmas giveaway. Congratulations. Please reply to our comment to collect your prize. And continue to comment and like and subscribe to these videos, because we're going to do this $100 giveaway again this week. So you got another chance at winning this hundo, as someone said in the comments. So continue to support the videos, guys. We appreciate all of the viewers here and the people who use Draft Dashboard. Please have a great holiday season, and thanks once again for all your support.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and then we'll send you $100 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, another running back stud that I like is Nick Chubb from the Cleveland Browns playing the Green Bay Packers, who have a good defense overall. They've been good versus opposing running backs. Nick Chubb has averaged 17.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 17.3 rush attempts per game and 1.7 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 33% owned, projected at 16 fantasy points here tonight. He's $7,200 DraftKings salary and $400 more on FanDuel. So we know Vegas thinks there's going to be 46 points in this game, with the Browns trailing by 7.5. Just got to hope that this doesn't get too out of hand, and Nick Chubb could possibly get games scripted out of this one if they have to abandon the run. But if they're within a touchdown, they're going to keep running the ball. And Nick Chubb has scored 16, 10, and 6 fantasy points in the last 3 games, off of 23, 17, and 8 rush attempts, on top of 1, 4, and 4 pass targets. So I like to see that he got 24 touches last week. So he is one of my favorite running backs on the slate. He's not as expensive as Jonathan Taylor. You're going to save Looks like 1,100 DraftKings salary and a ton of FanDuel salary. Definitely, I'd probably go with Nick Chubb on FanDuel and probably Jonathan Taylor on DraftKings. So I like Nick Chubb here versus the Green Bay Packers. Okay, another running back stud on the slate. He's not getting nearly the volume as the other two guys, so I am a little bit hesitant with this pick, but I do think this game could possibly turn into a running game script, and he does have some pretty big upside. He's had a good couple of weeks, so I like Aaron Jones from the Green Bay Packers playing the Cleveland Browns, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing running backs. Aaron Jones has averaged 15.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 11.6 rush attempts per game and 4.1 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 45% owned, projected at 15.9 fantasy points here tonight. He's 6,800 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. And Aaron Jones has scored 15, 22, and 2 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 13, 5, and 10 rush attempts on top of 2, 3, and 1 pass target. So it was nice that we saw him get 15 touches last game, scored 15 fantasy points. So I hope he can get between 15 and 20 touches here tonight. Vegas does think that the Packers are going to be up by a touchdown or more. So if they get up by a couple touchdowns, could turn into a running game script here. The only thing to be concerned about is it looks like he's going to have to compete with touches from A.J. Dillon, who got 7 rush attempts and 1 pass target last game. So looks like Aaron Jones is going to get the bulk of the carries. But A.J. Dillon, he could get the goal line carry and kind of steal that touchdown from Aaron Jones. So somewhat difficult situation here. But I do like Aaron Jones here versus the Cleveland Browns. Okay, now a similar situation where you're going to have 2 guys potentially sharing the ball in the backfield. From the Arizona Cardinals, you got James Conner, who's been a stud lately. But now you got Chase Edmonds is back in the mix. So James Conner, he's averaging 16.5 fantasy points per game on the season. He's getting an average of 13.4 rush attempts per game, 2.4 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 33% owned, projected at 13.8 fantasy points here tonight. He's 6,000 DraftKings salary, 1,100 more on FanDuel. He scored 9, 34, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 8, 13, and 20 rush attempts on top of 2, 9, and 2 pass targets. So he did get injured last game, and it doesn't look like he practiced on Thursday heading into week 16, so he is questionable. So keep an eye on the injury news, and if he's out, then that's going to lead me to pick a guy like Chase Edmonds, who's going to be back for the Cardinals. And if James Conner is out, then Chase Edmonds is going to be one of my favorite picks on the slate. But I do have a feeling that James Conner is going to play this game, and I do think he's going to be in a timeshare with Chase Edmonds. So he was enjoying a lot of carries before Chase Edmonds came back, a lot of volume. But I think that's going to be cut down just a bit. But I think James Conner is going to get the goal line carries, so he's only 6,000 DraftKings salary, so I think he's still a pretty decent DraftKings play if he plays here tonight. Now, you could take a look at Chase Edmonds, but I think there's a lot more risk with this play, but he is only 4,700 DraftKings salary, 1,100 more on FanDuel, averaging 10.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.2 rush attempts per game and 3.8 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 27% owned, projected at 10.5 fantasy points here tonight. So just keep an eye on the injury news about James Conner, if he's going to be limited or what's going on. If he doesn't play, then Chase Edmonds is going to be a lock for me. If he does play, it's kind of a coin flip between these 2 guys. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. Okay, so at the top, you got the stud on the slate, Davante Adams from the Green Bay Packers playing the Cleveland Browns, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They've been good versus opposing wide receivers. Davante Adams has averaged 22.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 10.4 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 88% of the snaps, going to be about 75% owned, projected at 21.5 fantasy points here tonight. He's 8,700 DraftKings salary and 100 more on FanDuel. So I like that price on both sites. It's reasonable. And he scored 16, 37, and 21 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 7, 13, and 9 pass targets. So I like Davante Adams here versus the Cleveland Browns.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, now you're going to get into a bunch of wide receivers who are all right around the $5,000 mark. So you got your stud Davante Adams, then you got a handful of guys between $4,000 and $5,000 right around there. And that's pretty much it outside of a couple of guys that are like 3,500, 3,900, Zach Pascal or T.Y. Hilton. But they're not getting a bunch of targets, so those are risky plays. But let's go take a look at these guys that are all around 5,000 salary and see who we like. So the guy that I like the most on the slate that's around 5K is Michael Pittman Jr. from the Indianapolis Colts playing the Arizona Cardinals, who have a good defense overall, but they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Michael Pittman Jr. has averaged 14.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.4 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 87% of the snaps, going to be about 47% owned, projected at 13.7 fantasy points here tonight. He's 5,000 DraftKings salary, 1,400 more on FanDuel. And he scored 2, 17, and 9 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 5, 8, and 10 pass targets. So he's getting really good volume. He's been super productive. Outside of last week, this guy usually puts points on the board. So I like Michael Pittman Jr. here versus the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, now another guy that was activated ahead of this game that's going to play here tonight is Jarvis Landry. He's another one of my favorite 5K picks. He's from the Cleveland Browns playing the Green Bay Packers. And Jarvis Landry is 5,100 DraftKings salary, 1,500 more on FanDuel. And he's averaging 11.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.9 pass targets per game. I like this pick because he's on the field 97% of the snaps, going to be about 25% owned, projected at 12.3 fantasy points here tonight. Now, before he went out last week, he scored 15, 19, and 14 fantasy points in the 3 games previous to last week when he was out, off of 8 and 10 pass targets in the last 2 games. So he's getting good volume, he's been productive, and I do expect the Cleveland Browns to have to pass the ball quite a bit in this game as they fall behind the Green Bay Packers. So if you are looking for a lineup that's going to be different, you could take a look at a Baker Mayfield Jarvis Landry stack, save a ton of salary, and fit in a guy like Davante Adams or Jonathan Taylor into your lineup with that salary savings and still be able to have some pretty decent players. So I like Jarvis Landry here versus the Green Bay Packers. Okay, and another guy around the 5K area, or the 5K range, the 5K salary, is Christian Kirk from the Arizona Cardinals playing the Indianapolis Colts, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the 12th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Christian Kirk has averaged 12.8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.9 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 43% owned, projected at 13.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's $5,400 DraftKings salary, $1,800 more on FanDuel. He scored 24 and 12 fantasy points the last two games off of 12 and 6 pass targets. So that 12 pass targets is looking awfully juicy for $5,400 DraftKings salary. He is priced up quite a bit on FanDuel, so it looks like all these guys are though. But I might play AJ Green on FanDuel and Christian Kirk on DraftKings. But I like Christian Kirk here versus the Indianapolis Colts. So I mentioned AJ Green. He's $4,900 DraftKings salary, only $1,000 more on FanDuel. He's averaging 10.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.7 pass targets per game from the Arizona Cardinals. And these guys are getting more pass targets now because DeAndre Hopkins has been out. So AJ Green and Christian Kirk, they're getting more pass targets. And AJ Green has scored 10 and 20 fantasy points the last two games off of 8 and 10 pass targets. So almost double his season average in pass targets the past couple of games. So I don't think you can ignore him, but on DraftKings, I much prefer Christian Kirk. Whereas, like I said, on FanDuel, the salary savings may make sense on a guy like AJ Green. Okay, let's take a look at the tight end position. So only really one tight end that I like on this slate, and that's Zach Ertz from the Arizona Cardinals playing the Indianapolis Colts, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the third most fantasy points to opposing tight ends, and Zach Ertz has averaged 10.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.7 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 44% owned, projected at 11.5 fantasy points here tonight. And he's $4,800 DraftKings salary, $100 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 49 points scored in this game, with the Cardinals favored by 2.5. Did that line just change, or is it me? Not sure. But Zach Ertz scored 13 fantasy points last game off of 11 pass targets, and 9 fantasy points the game before that off of 7 pass targets. So lots of volume with no DeAndre Hopkins, and he's got a great matchup here tonight, a great tight end matchup. So I think this play makes a lot of sense as one of the Arizona Cardinals pass catchers for only $4,800 and $1,000 more on DraftKings. I like his price on both sites. So I like Zach Ertz here versus the Indianapolis Colts.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.